Today's episode is going to be a game changer because we're talking about your power, the power you hold to understand what's happening inside of your body, to decode the symptoms that you've been told to brush off again and again, and to take action that changes your health trajectory, how you feel alive, not just today, but for the decades to come. Because this is what I know for sure. Life is going to keep happening to you and me, right? I have spent the last 7 days taking care of my 4-year-old son after he had a bilateral eye surgery where he went under general anesthesia. And although his healing journey has been amazing and he's doing great, it has also been a rough journey. The amount of energy and capacity that I've had the opportunity to hold as a mom has been just immense. We're talking 24 hours with my son for many, many days in a row. All at the same time, us announcing the book, the Perimenopause Revolution book, and even today, having a pretty epic migraine, right? So, so often, not only are we tending to ourselves and the stuff that we're dealing with, the health challenges or the symptoms that are coming up for us, despite so many things that we're doing right, but also there's family members that are struggling. There's obligations that we're upholding. There's deliverables that we promise to deliver on, like today's podcast episode. Whether I have a migraine today, I cannot push this episode back another day unless I want it to be pushed back on the show. And I don't want that. I have been so excited to prep this episode, write this episode, do all the research for this episode. And then, the day I wake up to record, I wake up with a migraine. And, if you've ever had a migraine or you're dealing with chronic pain or chronic inflammation, it is something else to wake up realizing that your day is not going to go exactly how you imagined based on how you feel. And if anything, it is my through line for this episode today about what we can do with the information and the data about our bodies to begin to make pivots so that we do feel more alive in our body, so that we are able to mitigate these circumstances and situations. Because if they're happening to me, if this has been my week this last 7 days, I know that you're experiencing things equally as similar, right? That you are addressing right now at the end of May. That's when I'm recording this. I always think of May as being one of those crazy mom months in general, where graduations are happening, kids are finishing school, summer camps starting. Like there's just so much in the air. And then you've got the work stuff and everything else that's happening. And so again, I'm so excited for this episode because I am going to give you kind of the framework for how to understand your body and then what you can do to start making actionable steps to, again, feel more alive in your body, but also to get the results that you deserve. So we're going to be diving into labs, biomarkers, and how to harness this data to become the CEO of your health during your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. So I want to start with why your metabolic health is really your North Star. I want to start with a reality check. This is a stat that every time I read it, I am floored. I'm like, this can't be true, but it is. So 88% of women over 45 years old will have some level of metabolic dysfunction. And insulin resistance is really the silent force behind 8 out of the 10 top causes of death in the US. It is one of the biggest root causes because it is instrumental, our insulin sensitivity, on how we process and utilize energy at a cellular level. How I'm able to have this conversation with you today, how you're able to show up and get up in the morning, how your cells are able to do their job every day requires this metabolism, right? The way that we convert and utilize energy to be running 24/7. And what we know now, and this is crazy that we're not talking enough about this, but that we know that insulin resistance and poor metabolic health is linked to everything from infertility to Alzheimer's, from fatigue to high blood pressure. And in perimenopause, when hormones are shifting dramatically, our vulnerability skyrockets. And that's why I always say that this transition is not only a time of vulnerability, but more importantly, it is a time of opportunity. We get to change the narrative about our health trajectory for the next several decades. And that is what we're talking about today. But what's often overlooked, and this isn't just about the big diagnoses, right? But poor metabolic health can look like a wide spectrum of daily pain points that keep us from reaching our full potential and goals, including fatigue, brain fog, sugar cravings, migraines, right? Anxiety or depression, belly fat that just won't budge, skin issues, poor sleep, achy body parts, and so much more, right? And these aren't random, these are signals, like important signals. And the root is often metabolic dysfunction, especially deregulated blood sugar and insulin, along with inflammation. Now, more advanced and overt impacts of metabolic dysfunction can include polycystic ovarian syndrome or uterine fibroids, thyroid dysfunction, obesity, which is basically dysfunctional body fat storage, often measured by BMI or a DEXA scan, insulin resistance and diabetes, or even prediabetes, right? We know that prediabetes on its own is a massive signal that we have inflammation and a bigger cardiovascular risk, particularly for us as women. And when I think about insulin resistance and diabetes, this is dysfunctional energy metabolism. This is dysfunctional glucose processing. Also, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? This is the dysfunctional management of glucose and fat in the liver. And we're actually recategorizing this or renaming this as metabolic fatty liver disease because that's exactly what it is. Cancer, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease like heart attack and stroke, and chronic kidney disease, right? You think about even prediabetes or diabetes is driving a lot of that, which is impaired by excess glucose in the blood. Now, if you're experiencing any of the subtle signs or overt signs, there's a good chance that insulin resistance is a part of the dialogue, is running the show. The goal here is really about creating balance and stability. Well, it's really about improving your aliveness and your cellular energy. And what that looks like is going to vary from woman to woman, even from week to week, as your body changes pretty dramatically during this transition, during the perimenopause transition, or being on the other side in menopause and beyond. But here's the empowering truth that I want you to know is that one, you can track it, you can measure it, and you can change your future with the right data. Now, do you always need this data to make lifestyle changes that are going to significantly future proof your health and increase your quality of life? No. But so often, a lot of these symptoms are insidious. And again, because of our failure and the knowledge gap in terms of women's health in the healthcare system, and also the clinical research is just not there. We have written off a lot of the symptoms that we're dealing with, right? The bad sleep, or the mood swings, the irritability, the low stress tolerance, the brain fog, the lack of word recall, the mild anxiety, depression, or ADHD, the little bit of belly fat. All of these things have been written off as just this is the product of being a woman in this lifetime. But these are important signals that we get to pay attention to, and that at any point we can pivot in a different direction. Now, there's power in knowing your numbers. Clinically speaking, metabolic health is defined by optimal levels of 5 biomarkers. So it's not a lot of biomarkers that you really need to know. It's just really these big 5 that I want you to really understand. It's blood glucose, so fasting blood glucose, fasting triglyceride, fasting HDL, high density lipoprotein, cholesterol, right? That HDL cholesterol, your blood pressure, and your waist circumference. And we can improve most of these biomarkers by consistently making lifestyle choices that keep them in stable and healthy ranges. And that is exactly what you're going to get, literally what you're going to get. You're going to get the blueprint, the roadmap, the whole enchilada in my upcoming book, The Perimenopause Revolution. Because when I thought about writing this book, one, I wanted to bring awareness to what the heck is going on with our body in this profound transition and what happens on the other side, right? As hormones are declining, we see inflammation, we see changes in biomarkers, like what is going on. Women need to understand the full picture of the perimenopause journey and knowing that these hormones are whole body hormones. This isn't bikini medicine that we're talking about anymore. It's not just the uterus and the ovaries and the boobs. We're talking about the heart, the brain, the muscle, the bone, the general urinary system. We're talking about all of it, right? All of it, connective tissue, skin, hair, all of it. And then what are the implications when our bodies begin to change in this way and we don't understand the interventions that we can undergo, right? To feel more alive in our body. I think so many women, we all thought, oh, this is my, so this was looking like my mom's menopause or my mom's perimenopause, if we even knew that she went through that. And we often see a decline, right? In our moms and our grandmothers and our aunts. And it's like no one gave us a playbook as to what actually to do so that we feel alive and active and strong and vibrant as we move into our 50s and 60s and 70s and beyond. And so that's what we dive into. But at the core of so much of this is our cellular energy. And if we're beginning to lose that cellular resilience, that metabolic resilience, that's where things start to fall apart. That's when our health begins to fray. And so a lot of this book is actually diving into the interconnection between these resilient whole body hormones and us losing them. And then also, what are the ramifications on a cellular level, on an organ system level, that is causing us to not feel so alive anymore in our bodies, whether that's bone loss or muscle loss or even strength loss, right? Whether that is belly fat or body composition changes that are not favorable, or even labs that are changing and moving in an unfavorable direction, or our brain just not working the way that it used to, right? So understanding that. And that's why so much of this book is really about understanding metabolic dysfunction and metabolic syndrome and what it looks like we are diagnosing that. And then what is it that we can do? What levers, what are the biggest levers that we can pull to feel amazing in our body, to not have to negotiate with our energy capacity for what we want to do and what we need to do. So in the book, I break this down, but I'm break it down with you today. And I've obviously shared this on other podcast episodes and in interviews that I've done. Basically, it's really important to know that metabolic dysfunction and syndrome, it occurs when 3 or more of the following biomarkers are out of range. And I just shared with them, but I want to go over what the actual, when we move out of this range, when we move out of this level of biomarker, then we know when 3 of these are out of range, we've got to get in some interventions to reverse this. So the first one is a waistline of 35 inches or more for women, 40 inches or more for men. But my recommendation is to have a waistline that's half the length of your height, right? I'm 5'2". I'm 5'2". And if my waistline was even 33 inches or 32 inches, right, that would be problematic for me at 5'2". And so it's important to know, again, we go by the waistline of 35 inches. This is general. These are averages, but that would be my recommendation. Fasting glucose above 100 milligrams per deciliter. You should know that a fasting glucose at 100 milligrams per deciliter is prediabetes. Like you've crossed over into the prediabetes realm. Hence why we are diagnosing metabolic dysfunction. HDL cholesterol less than 40 milligrams per deciliter. Triglycerides above 150 milligrams per deciliter, and then high blood pressure is anything of 130 over 85 or higher. And so if 3 of these markers are out of range, this is a clinical diagnostic criteria for being diagnosed with metabolic syndrome or metabolic X, right? And here's the thing, by the time your levels are at this point, you've likely been feeling like something is off for a long time, potentially a decade, or maybe even just 5 years, but still, it's been a minute. If your levels aren't quite in this range, but you're already feeling the effects of metabolic dysfunction, I just want you to trust your instincts. And if you're wondering, well, how do I know if I'm feeling the effects of metabolic dysfunction? It's really about the symptoms that I listed earlier that can kind of give you a clue in. Like if you're feeling like something's off, if you're feeling like you don't feel like yourself anymore, if you're noticing the body composition changes, you're noticing you're having stubborn weight issues, energy issues, brain fog issues, sleep issues, cravings, feeling hangry, feeling moody, those are all in relation to our metabolic health and our mitochondrial health. Just trust your instinct. If something doesn't feel right, let me tell you, you have such a deep wisdom inside of your body that knows what's going on. Trust that. You're never going to regret intervening too soon. Never, not when it comes to your health. And the proactive steps that we're going to be discussing today, but also in my book, are going to be so much easier than the drastic measures that you would have to take if things got a lot worse, right? it's so much easier to walk back a little bit of metabolic issues or a little bit of insulin resistance or a little bit of glucose deregulation than it is once you have three of these markers out of range. It's a bigger battle. It's a bigger task, right? The hill got a lot bigger to climb. So now, if you've been told, like so many of us have, I cannot tell you how many times I've been told that my labs are normal, even by colleagues that I'm like, really? Like, I trust your opinion, but you and I are not aligned in terms of what optimal should look like. So, if you've ever told that your labs are normal while feeling anything but, you are not alone. Almost every woman I've spoken to over the last 10 years has a deeply disappointing story about reviewing her lab results with their doctor. Often they are told that everything looks normal, despite the fact that they are experiencing symptoms that are far from it, or they are told that their lab biomarker is out of range, so they should take a medication like a statin or metformin to address the issue without exploring any lifestyle strategies, shifting hormones, root causes, perimenopause or menopause. I mean, come on. Like we're not even looking into the root cause. I mean, I cannot tell you how often birth control or a statin or metformin is given to women because we're missing it. We're missing the big piece of the puzzle. I had a preschool friend of mine recently come to me with her labs, and she was on the verge of prediabetes. And her doctor was like, listen, you're normal. Everything's fine. Like, you're just tired. You're just a mom. You got young kids, and it's all going to be fine. And she walked out of there so upset and so dismissed because she went there. She literally went to a doctor because she did not feel fine. And the answer was like, sorry, like just the life you're living. It'll maybe normalize in a couple of years. But honestly, like, what if things get worse in the next couple of years? You know what I'm saying? And so I hear these stories all the time. I have women coming up to me telling me these stories in person all the time. And I'm just like, gosh, what what a in a lot of ways, it's not a fully broken system, but man, when it comes to women's healthcare, it feels very much like a broken system. And unfortunately, most doctors are not trained to interpret lab results in a very meaningful whole body way. Physicians are trained to follow medical guidelines and rules associated with lab results rather than investigate the broader issue, often rooted in metabolic dysfunction. Now, due to this massive knowledge gap in our healthcare system when it comes to women in general, especially during perimenopause, I believe that it's critical to know your numbers and then to make lifestyle pivots based on that information. And I get that that doesn't feel fair. I get that it doesn't feel fair to have to advocate for yourself. I get that it doesn't feel fair to have to bring the list of labs that you want on a piece of paper to your doctor's office so that you get what you need. I get that it's not fair that you have to kind of know your own numbers or at least have a reference sheet so you can look at your numbers meaningfully, right? It isn't. And I know I share this all the time, but like, isn't it becoming more and more obvious that no one's coming to save us, right? No one's coming to save you. Like, no one knows your body better than you. And I get that it's nice to have, it's important, not just nice. It's important to have a team. It's important to have, a medical team or a health expert team that is helping to navigate this journey. It's important to feel like you've got a plan in place, a blueprint or a protocol that feels good in your body. It is all of those things. And I know that there's a lot of doctors out there doing the work. Often they are one to many, like myself, because I want to get this information out more than I'm able to see like a bunch of people one on one. But at least there is this information, like today in this episode, where you could be like, okay, I've got a baseline. And I try to make it so easy to understand so that you've got a place to start. And again, even if it's just those five biomarkers that I went over just a little bit ago, right? Knowing your waistline, your fasting glucose, your HDL cholesterol, your triglycerides, and your high blood pressure. And I'm going to get into some labs in just a moment, but I just wanted to just share that. Now, most chronic conditions silently develop over many years, right? The heart attack doesn't start in a day. It takes well over a decade to develop. And what a lot of us don't realize is the things that are manifesting in our 60s and 70s really started in our 40s. And often they could have been avoided with earlier, more targeted interventions. That's why I always say this is the window of opportunity. Luckily, we are entering a new era of healthcare, a bit slowly, right? One in which you can order your own labs and observe your own biology in real time through wearables like Whoop and continuous glucose monitoring through companies like Levels and NutriSense. These bioobservable data enables you to connect the dots between your lifestyle habits, symptoms, and overall metabolic resilience, like how you're feeling, how energized you are. We are living in a time where we have the potential to increase our aliveness and health span by understanding and trusting our bodies. And I will be sharing everything you need to know about wearables and continuous glucose monitoring inside of my book. And I have lots of episodes where I've interviewed the owners of or the doctors of these companies as well on the podcast, including Dr. Kristen Holmes. And when Casey was at the helm of Levels, Dr. Casey Means. And I'm going to focus today on your most important biomarkers so that you can use the lab data to live a healthier, more vibrant life, because I believe that that's what you're looking for. Like when I think about the life I want to live, it is doing the things that I love with the people that I love and doing them when I want to do them, right? Without having to negotiate with myself whether I've got no energy or I'm really struggling or gosh, or I have a migraine, right? The most effective way to know if you are at risk for diseases like diabetes, dementia, and heart disease, not to mention get clarity on the exact reasons why you're struggling with so many symptoms or even just a few symptoms, is to understand your lab numbers and what they mean for you, your symptoms, and your health history. Now, in order to bring clarity to your lab work that leads to actionable steps, there are 3 truths that you need to know. Number 1, perimenopause is a time of profound hormone changes and body transitions that impact biomarkers of longevity. So, if no one's ever told you that, this is the truth. I watch women's biomarkers and labs change very quickly in just 5 years. There is no lab test that will identify if you are in perimenopause. Or there is some that can identify if you're in menopause, right? If we look at your follicular stimulating hormone lab, but it is hit and miss. It's really symptom driven more than anything else. So the best way to know is through tracking your symptoms and your menstrual cycle changes. And also, normal ranges for test results may not be your normal. I recommend running annual labs to obtain a timeline of your biomarkers. The more data that we can have on you over the course of time, the more we can get a better picture as to what's going on. Now, if you're saying to yourself, like, well, I don't have a timeline of labs, no worries. We can even learn a lot just from one data set of labs. Unfortunately, most doctors don't understand what's happening in perimenopause and menopause, and they don't always order the labs that you need to make educated decisions about your health. The guidelines in this particular episode will provide you with a comprehensive biomarker list that you can take to your doctor or reference or you can reference if you order your own labs through direct-to-consumer lab testing facilities, right? There's so many of them out there. Every year, there are more options to self-order labs and monitor some of these numbers yourself, or go to your doctor's appointments all the more prepared, right? So whether you're ordering the labs yourself or you're taking these labs to your doctor's office, this is invaluable information that you can take to the bank. Now, to make it as easy as possible for you, I want you to know that I spent a lot of time creating a not even pretty, like an extremely comprehensive perimenopause lab guide that is super easy to understand, detailing every biomarker with optimal reference ranges and a biomarker checklist that you can take directly to your doctor or provider. The guide also includes a complete list of hormone biomarkers that I recommend along with reference ranges. I get that it gets a little bit crazy in perimenopause specifically, but it'll give you a decent understanding of what's going on. And understanding your lab results is one of the best ways to support your longevity and vitality. So I included everything you need to understand your labs and how to prep for a lab draw. And just really quickly, I want to just share a couple things on how to prep for a lab draw so that you feel informed and empowered. So number 1, I always say, do your lab draw as early as possible. So 8 a.m., 9 a.m., no later than 10 a.m., especially if you're running thyroid labs. It's just, we're not in a fasted state at that point. Things are beginning to shift in our body, understandably. And then because you will be running labs that are fasted most of the time, I recommend not eating 12 hours prior to your lab. So if you're running labs at 8 a.m., I recommend stop eating at 8 p.m. the night before. And also be mindful about what you're eating the night before. Maybe it's not like a big like buttered steak and pasta and then a dessert before 8. It's just going to be a lot of fats and glucose and stuff in your system that could, mess with your labs a little bit. So I would keep the meal a little bit on the lighter side the night before, give or take. Stop eating by 8 p.m. 9 p.m. at the latest. And then again, try to run those labs as early as you can. You're not really supposed to drink anything besides water between 8 p.m. and when you run labs. So what I do is I make a coffee before on my way before I leave to go run labs. I get to the lab draw facility around literally 7:55, 8 a.m. But I'll have a coffee in the car waiting for me so that I can drink it on the back end of the of my lab draw. So there's just a couple pointers that can help you. So as I mentioned, I did create a comprehensive perimenopause lab guide, and it is a part of your Perimenopause Power Toolkit when you pre-order my upcoming book, The Perimenopause Revolution, along with, oh my gosh, so much more stuff. You're going to get a workout series that includes intermediate, beginner, and exercise snacks. And I will have videos and the write out of all of this workout programs. I'm actually recording all the videos in a couple of days. I'm so excited to have this video series where I will have a beginner, I will have exercise snacks, and I will have an intermediate. And I have one of my best friends, one of my book besties joining me, because even in the beginner, it's a body weight workout. But I have a feeling some of you are maybe you're gonna want weights. So we're gonna do a comparison where we'll be running the workout without weights and with weights. And then the intermediate program is like you want to build muscle, you want to build lean muscle, you want to do progressive overload. Like you did not come to play, right? You came to build some serious, like some sexy, lean muscle. Here's the thing about working out and strength training that I just want you to understand, that strength and muscle is earned. It's so hard to bulk up. It is so hard. I've been training 4 to 5 days a week since the beginning of this year with progressive overload, and I think I've dropped 5 pounds. I think that's the exercise next, to be honest, and the consistent moving throughout the day. And I think I've gained like 6 or 7 pounds of muscle, but man, it has been, I have put in work, consistent, hard, grueling. I ain't gonna lie, it's not been easy. So just a heads up, like even the intermediate program in this book is, you got this. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to bulk you up. It's going to help you to preserve your muscle of longevity. Also, you're going to get a meal plan with all the recipes. So inside of the book, we had to cut some of my recipes and the plan because the book is just, there's too much content. It's amazing in that way. But everything else is on the website and in the toolkits. You're going to get, I think I have like 45 new recipes. Oh my gosh, incredible. Meal plan, the whole nine, everything you need. A symptom tracker. You're going to get a self-care and self-care rituals bundle as well, which I think includes like a meditation, metabolic hacks, audio set, my mindfulness guide, my morning supercharging guide. I mean, so much. And there's some exclusive bonuses as well. And so you can check out the book and the bonuses because there are so many. It's like over $500 worth in bonuses, including the exclusive thing. And you just go to drmariza.com/book and it'll all be there. And this is literally why I wrote the Perimenopause Revolution. This isn't just another hormone book. It is a comprehensive guide that I desperately wish I had at the start of my own journey. That was the driving force to writing this book, is I was like, this has been a hot mess journey. I need this book. I know every woman needs this book. Inside, you'll discover the breakthrough science behind why your metabolism suddenly shifts, why brain fog and muscle loss aren't just aging, and more importantly, how to use this transition to revolutionize your health for the next 40 years. This book empowers you to understand and regain a sense of agency over your body, manage your symptoms, and advocate for your health. And that's literally what this episode is about. Like, how do we advocate for our health? How do we take the reins on our health? You deserve to thrive in this next chapter. You deserve to thrive now, but also in the next chapter. It's not about survival, right? I'm tired of surviving life. I don't know about you. Like, I'm not interested in that anymore. So I say, let's rise to our most vibrant, powerful chapter yet. And that's what this is about. The perimenopause revolution begins now with you and me standing together, demanding more, demanding to be heard, demanding to feel good in our bodies again. Now, if you just want the list of labs so you can take it to your doctor, you can find them all in my epic free guide, Thriving in Perimenopause Survival Guide. And I'll have that in the show notes as well. So you can choose. You could go and get the book, all the sexy bonuses, right? Or you can go and get the free Thriving in Perimenopause Survival Guide, which I have the labs in there as well. So two different places to go and do that, right? Those will be in the show notes. I'm also going to walk you through the most important labs today because I understand how hard it is to know where to start. I completely understand that without a medical degree or even with one, for goodness sakes, it can be daunting to try and track and manage all of these levels and biomarkers. So we're going to take a deeper look into why these key markers matter, what optimal ranges look like, and other indicators to watch out for to help you live with unshakable vitality. You'll notice that I identify optimal ranges, not normal ranges. This is intentional. Too many women have been dismissed when they're symptomatic, but their labs come back fine or normal. Like it happens every single day. It's happening right now across the nation, across the world. Even if, according to your labs and your doctor, your tests are all in the normal range, but you don't feel normal, there is a deep seated reason for that. Your optimal range may vary slightly, but these are ballpark figures that help you understand if something is brewing below the surface, right? Because sometimes things are subclinical a little bit, like they're not blaringly, obviously off the Richter scale abnormal, right? But they're going out of normal. They're still within normal, but they're high normal, extremely low normal, right? If you have a vitamin D level, right, of 31, that's still within normal range, but not okay, right? So again, it's important to know that there are kind of optimal ranges that we want to be gearing towards. It just kind of shortens things up. That just shows that, okay, when I am my healthiest, I'm kind of within this range. Okay, so I want to share a little bit about some of these numbers, right? These are essential labs and optimal ranges because it's time to demystify what to test and what your numbers should look like. So, again, when it comes to metabolic labs, I talked about those earlier, but I want to give you, again, optimal ranges. So, I want a fasting glucose between 70 and 85 milligrams per deciliter. When it starts creeping up towards 90, it's definitely a red flag for me. Fasting insulin, I want it between a 2 and 6 international units per milliliter, right? So between a 2, if it's above a 6, it's definitely on my radar. And you having other symptoms? Yep. Triglycerides, I want them ideally, I want them under 80 milligrams per deciliter, at least under 100 milligrams per deciliter. HDL, I want it between 50 and 90 milligrams per deciliter. If you can't get a fasting insulin, one of the best ways to tell if you've got insulin resistance is looking at the ratio between triglycerides versus HDL. So you would divide triglycerides by HDL, and I want that number to be under 1.5. If it's above a 2 or 2.5, it is an indicator of insulin resistance. Hemoglobin A1C, I would love it between a 4.6 and a 5.2. And HOMA-IR, 0.5 and 1.4. This is another look into glucose metabolism and insulin resistance. Now, inflammation and cardiovascular numbers. I would love to see a highly sensitive CRP under 1 milligrams per liter. Homocysteine, which is an inflammatory marker for cardiovascular health, under 7. An ApoB, which is a protein transport or a lipid transport protein, that is a big indicator for cardiovascular disease risk. I want it under 90 milligrams per deciliter. And then lipoprotein little a, again, another more advanced cardiovascular marker. I want it under 30 milligrams per deciliter. Now, when it comes to liver and nutrients, vitamin D levels between 50 and 80 nanograms per milliliter. I at least want it in the 40s. Magnesium 1.3 to 2.1. Uric acid between 2 and 4 milligrams per deciliter. And then when we're looking at a thyroid panel, I want your TSH between 0.5 and 2.5. Your free T3 between 3.5 and 4.5. So it's really tight. And your reverse T3 ideally under 15 nanograms per deciliter, right? So again, these are not all the biomarkers, but these are going to give you a lot of information about what's going on with your body. And in the comprehensive perimenopause guide, as a part of the Peri Power Toolkit, I give you all the labs with all the reference ranges. It's all written out. And then in my Thriving in Perimenopause guide, the free guide, I know I list all the labs out, and I believe I give optimal ranges for the most important ones, so it doesn't feel overwhelming. And these are your biofeedback tools. They give you clarity, not just on disease risk, but on how you feel. I can't emphasize enough that your metabolic health matters. Each of the lab tests listed in this and just now is important as an indicator of your systemic resilience and overall health. But metabolic markers in particular are critical to monitor closely throughout perimenopause because these change. They change over time as our hormones, which are immune system modulators, inflammation modulators, begin to shift. These are the root causes of so many chronic diseases. So, as soon as you start to veer out of optimal ranges, that's your signal to take action. Honestly, this is your signal to take action. Action is how we're going to get back to feeling like ourselves again. The question you want to answer with the 5 basic metabolic markers is whether you are part of the 7% of adults in the US who are metabolically healthy without medication. Now, if you are, right, if your labs are, as I mentioned earlier, if those 5 biomarkers are in at least normal range, then amazing. Congratulations, right? You are well on your way towards a healthy future. To find out if you have optimal metabolic health, you will need, in case you want to go and compute that information for yourself right now, you will need a copy of your most recent labs because you want to look at the triglycerides, the fasting glucose, and the HDLs. You need your vital signs, so your blood pressure, and a measuring tape to measure your waist circumference. Right now, if you are part of the 93% of US adults who need to improve your metabolic health, you are in the right place because this is what my book and even this episode tackles in great detail so that you know exactly what to look out for and how to future proof your health. In the Perimenopause Revolution book, we're going to explore how to monitor symptoms, menstrual cycle changes, and biomarkers, and implement lifestyle interventions, HRT, and you get a 5-week plan to optimize your cellular energy and to reduce your risk of chronic disease. That's really what it's all about. Perimenopause, and let's be honest, menopause is an incredibly transformative journey that none of us asked for. I didn't ask, honestly, I didn't ask for it. Like I always say it happens without permission, right? The whole body changes, right? And it's up to us to continue finding meaning and purpose amid these shifts. Because this stage of life often coincides with your kids getting older, caring for aging parents, career changes, and other lifestyle factors. It's important than ever to invest time and energy into finding your purpose every single day, right? To find your why for showing up. And at the end of the day, this isn't about perfection. It's just about empowerment. There's no one size fits all in perimenopause. Some days your body feels like a stranger, and other days it feels like a warrior. I felt like a warrior yesterday morning in the middle of my big, heavy weightlifting class. And now today, my body feels like a painful stranger to me with a migraine. I mean, it really does. Man, when I'm living my migraine-free days and I am resilient and my body score is looking great and I slept really great, oh my gosh, I am unstoppable. And then on days like this, I'm just like, I'm just trying to get by, right? It's a yes and, it's not an and or. So if you're feeling off, I say don't wait for the clinical diagnosis. Don't wait for the clinical disease. Start pivoting with lifestyle changes. That's really your superpower. So, what are some action steps to take today? Because I know I hit you with a lot. I knew this episode was always going to be a lot. And I'm sorry about that. But I also know that with this information, you're going to glean something. You're going to take away something. So, hopefully, these are action steps. One, let's find out if you're metabolically healthy. Are you that 7%? So get a copy of your labs, download them, and don't just take everything looks fine for an answer, right? See what's going on with your metabolic labs. Kind of just sit down with yourself and ask yourself, like, how am I really feeling today? And also, what would you love? Next, measure your waist, monitor your blood pressure, and then you'll use tools like wearables to track real-time data. Maybe it's your sleep that you're tracking or your steps that you're tracking, right? And then the other thing I recommend is just do something for you, whether that's a walk outside in nature or that is reading a book or it is making yourself like your favorite smoothie or your collagen coffee or whatever it may be. Like do something for you, prioritize you. Again, I know we live in a time where it is hard to prioritize us when the world and everybody is forcing us to prioritize them, right? I get it. It's not easy. And more importantly, I'm not going to lie, go and get the book, right? It's going to come with the instant bonuses, the comprehensive perimenopause lab guide, all the goodies. Because here's the thing, I know the book isn't coming out for a little bit. It's going to be out in October, but I set you up to win. I am here to set you up to win. I want you to have all the things. Everything that I packaged as a companion for this book, you're going to get immediately and you can start implementing immediately. Mind you, I share so much about things that you can do that are actionable right now, right here on the show. But if you're looking for like a whole kit and caboodle power toolkit, I have built it just for you. Again, it includes all the things you're looking for. And again, I just want to say that your symptoms are not in your head. They are messages from your body. And when you listen and you test and you track, you get to reclaim your story. You get to reclaim your health. This is the perimenopause revolution. This is how we change the game. So until next time, remember that you are powerful, you are worthy of thriving, and you were never meant to just survive this journey, right? You were meant to rise through it. This is you and your opportunity to step further into who you are becoming. And so I'm excited to be on this journey with you. We are in this together, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.